Hello, everybody. This is Gabriel with Divya Stone's readings. This is your week ahead reading for the week of May the 25th. And we're going to dive in a little bit deeper than my short readings so that you can get some insights for this week. Just a reminder, I do private Divya Stone's readings via Zoom and telephone and the occasional in-person opportunity. You can see my link in my bio to connect with me on all of my platforms. Please follow me on all of my platforms and share with your friends. Comment, like, and all the things. I'm just getting started and I can't wait to grow with you. So this week, we are going to be pulling 3 different stones plus a guide stone. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those now. This is the 3 stones we'll be working with, and I'm doing a random draw because I know these stones too well, right? I don't want to skew it. If you're getting a reading with me, usually you'll get to pick the ones off of this board. This is very interesting because these are matching some other stones that I am doing for something else. Okay, so we got green aventurine, we got amethyst, and we got labradorite. Okay, so in just a moment, I'm going to scatter these on the board, put those back in there. Let's see. Spirit, please show us what we need to know for the collective for the week ahead. Thank you, thank you. Ooh. Okay, now we're going to pick the guide stone, and then I'll give you a close-up of the board for the rest of the reading so that you can see more clearly what I've got going on here. Very interesting. That labradorite came out again. Okay, now you have a wonderful view of the board. And as always, I'm going to start with our guide stone. That's the one on the eye in the middle. The eye simply represents the ethereal realm. This is where we connect to spirit, guides, ancestors, all of our spirit team. So labradorite is a stone of high intuition. It asks us to really trust in our intuition, and it enhances those skills. So this week, you are really being asked to trust in your intuition. And this is going to go for several areas of your life. This is going to go for health and well-being, your spiritual life and practices. This is going to go for your material world, your money, your finances, your resources, and as well as decisions that you're going to make that will affect your life path moving forward. So trust in that intuition. Keep it in the gut, right? Keep it in the heart space. Don't overthink it. Don't get too in your head about things. Another thing that I'd like to point out right now about labradorite is that it is also a stone of success. So when you lean into that energy of your intuition, just know that this is leading you to a place of success in these areas in your life. And the biggest area that we're going to be looking at for this is your spiritual world, because we have not only was this the random guide stone that came forth, but it was also a stone that was selected out of the bag randomly. So we have a lot of labradorite energy going on, and both of these stayed in your spiritual world, okay? So in the collective, when we're talking about the spiritual world, we're talking about what each individual can do spiritually to stay connected, stay in their divinity, stay with their higher self and their higher perspective, not only for their own self, but for the purpose of being a beneficial presence in the world and helping to uplift the collective spirituality that we desperately need help with. So every little bit that you do as an individual here also helps the world entire. And isn't that what it's all about? So let's look at where these landed. I'm not going to reiterate their properties with the intuition and the success and the connection because we've already talked about that. So Because these are both in the spiritual world, I cannot stress enough how much this means that you must tune in spiritually in order to keep your intuition sharp and to keep those channels open, to allow the divine energies to flow through you, that divine guidance that is going to keep you on track with the answers that you need. So this one is pointing at the candles. The candles represent your actual spiritual practices. What are you doing on a daily basis? Maybe not daily. Sometimes that's a big ask, right? So maybe this is, a few times a week, right? But what are you doing? Where is your discipline? How are you making sure that you are tuning into spirit so that your practices can lead you into that deeper connection where you really can trust your intuition? Okay, so Spirit is saying up your game with your spiritual practices this week. That's very, very important. Now, we also have the labradorite right here in between the moon, and these outer symbols on the board on the four edges represent seasons and elements. This little cloud right here, that's the element of air. And the element of air is about the intellect. It's about creative thought. It's about the mind. But because this is in the spiritual world, this is the universal mind. This is how do we tap into that universal mind to get ideas, to get inspiration, to get guidance, to really connect with something greater than the smaller individual human mind, right? So you're going to want to up those practices so that you can do that. And really, maybe when you're in meditation or whatever it is that you do, think about that universal mind and that we're all plugged into that, right? And really ask, what do I need to glean this week from the universal mind, okay? And then intuition, the moon represents intuition and cycles. And so we've got the stone of intuition pointing at the symbol of intuition. And it is also the guide stone. So I cannot stress enough to work on your intuitive abilities this week and really practice trusting your intuition. Literally put it into practice into your daily life and see how that is working for you. All right, so let's move on. The next one that I want to look at here is the green aventurine. So we have green aventurine over here, and this is your health and well-being section, which covers all areas, not just physical health, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual health. And then over here, we have your life path. This is things like beginnings, endings, decisions, things of that nature, everything you would encounter along your path of life. Green aventurine, first and foremost, it is a heart stone. So this is about keeping your heart open and remembering to come from the heart space and not always the head space or the ego space. And it is also a stone of opportunity. So what this is doing is it is letting you know that there is big opportunity here for you to move forward on your life path with a caveat, okay? So let's first talk about your health and well-being section. In this section, your green aventurine landed on this symbol. It looks very scary, but it's not. It is a bottle of poison in a skeleton hand, right? This is not about you're sick and dying, right? Somebody's poisoned you. It's not like that. The poison is really kind of self-induced here. The poison is representing your distractions, your anxiety, and the things that are pulling you away from that which is good for you, right? That which you want to be focusing on your life path. So we want new opportunities. We want all the good to come our way. Aventurine is a very fortuitous stone. It brings forth the abundance, the resources, the connections that we need, those synchronicities, chance meetings that lead us to our best outcome on our life, right? So what's distracting you from focusing on what you need to focus on so that you can get there, so that you can take advantage of these amazing opportunities that are coming your way? So not only are you to be trusting your intuition, you are to be more disciplined about your distractions this week. So that means not as much time on social media, not as much time just messing around with things that don't really matter. So when you find yourself distracted and you get sucked in and you're like, oh, I just need to check one thing on my Instagram, and then you find yourself doom scrolling for 30 minutes, be a little strict with yourself and say, this is not going to lead to what I want. This is not going to foster the opportunities that Spirit has waiting for me. Now, what's really wonderful is that if you're willing to take on this challenge of being disciplined, you are going to get the positive outcome that you are seeking. On your life path here, this symbol right here, it's two little hands and they've got little stars and flowers floating in between them. That's kind of your brand of personal magic and how you work your magic in the world. This represents positive outcomes on your life path. But if you want the positive outcome, you must curtail the distractions. That is the message for the week, my friends. Okay, so let's move now to our amethyst. This is our last stone that we're going to look at. Oh, and by the way, because we have that intuition stone as our guide stone, you're going to want to trust your intuition when things that look like opportunities are showing up for you, if they are leading you in the right direction. Okay, trust your intuition on that. Okay. Back to the amethyst here. So the amethyst also in your life path, this one in a very interesting position because it's on the line between your material world, which has to do with money and resources and experiences that are actually happening in the real world, and your life path section. Okay, so what is going on here? Amethyst is a master healer, so it does help us heal many aspects of our lives, whether it's something emotional, it's old trauma that's holding us back. It is, our old belief systems, things that are not serving us in our life, right? It is also a stone that it's a visionary stone. Okay. So I am letting you know right now that amethyst is asking you to develop a vision for your life. What do you want? And get serious about it. Get focused about it. Can't be focused if you're distracted all the time. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to write it down. What do I want for my material world? Meaning my resources, my abundance, my time, my energy, as well as experiences. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want to buy a house. Maybe you want to start a company or volunteer, do some philanthropic work with your resources, right? What is your vision for that? Not just the actual money and physical resources, but what is your vision for how you're going to interact with those resources in the world, okay? And then what does that look like on your life path, okay? What is a reasonable timeline? What is, where do you want this to happen? Is it here, or do you want to make a move somewhere? Think about that. Think about what is your vision for where you want to be, what you want to experience in your material world, and write it down. When you have a solid vision, you can hold that vision as sacred, and then you use that like a guidepost, right? So you are going to now be able to ask yourself, is this going to contribute to my vision, or is this going to pull away from it when you need to make a decision, including with your distractions? That's a great question. When you find yourself stuck on your phone way longer than you meant to be, you can ask yourself, hey, wait a second, what am I doing? Is this going to contribute to my vision, or is this actually making my vision further away? Pretty sure you know the answer already. So where is this showing up? In the material world, this is by the scarab beetle down here. Scarab beetle represents the cycles that we go through. It also represents our resourcefulness, okay? Because scarab beetles are the same as dung beetles, and they live in a desert, and resources are scarce in the desert. So what did they do? They evolved to use the camel dung to survive, not just to survive, but to thrive. So they roll the camel poop, right? And they use that for They're nurseries where they lay their eggs, they get moisture, they get nutrients. And hey, surprise, it's a mobile home. They were doing van life before it was ever popular, right? That's their mobile home. They just roll it across the desert and take it with them. So this is your resourcefulness, okay? And you are to, as you're making your plan, as you're making your vision, get resourceful. Think about all the resources that are available to you, not just the obvious ones. Who do I know? What are my connections? Who can I draw on? What books are out there? What videos are out there? What classes could I take to get me closer to where I want to be? I want you to get resourceful. Now, this is the interesting part. On your life path section, you have your other amethyst landed on the death head moth. The death's head moth is endings, okay? So something has to end in order for you to really go for this vision this week. And this is a great week energetically to plant seeds for where you're headed, okay? Now, this is being reiterated by the sword, okay? Because it's on almost touching the sword here. So the sword represents either a quick ending or a quick new boundary. So Spirit is telling you not once, but twice, something has to end in your life this week in order for you to move forward with your vision. That could be, this job isn't working for me anymore. That could be, I need to renegotiate the terms of this relationship or this job. That's the boundary, right? You don't necessarily have to quit your job or cut things out of your life completely. Please do not do that unless intuitively you know it's the right thing. I'm not telling anyone to make drastic changes this week, but I am asking you what needs to end, okay? What new boundary needs to be put into place so that you can more effectively live your life. And newsflash, sometimes that boundary is a boundary with yourself. What do you need to stop doing? What behavior do you need to cut out in order to move forward? What part of you needs to die in order for that new part of you that will see this vision into fruition, that part can come forward, right? So there's some discipline this week, you guys. Discipline with your distractions, discipline about boundaries and what needs to end. But the good news is your intuition is on your side. Your connection to Spirit is strong this week if you say yes to it. And these opportunities are on the horizon. If you heed all of this, it is leading to that positive outcome that you really, really want. So that is your week ahead reading for May 25th. Hi. So that was your reading for the week of May the 25th. Thank you so much for tuning in and getting your Divya Stones readings. Please hit me up if you would like a private reading via Zoom or telephone. And you can find all of my information at my link in the bio on my link tree, including signing up for my email list and following my other social media platforms. So I appreciate all of the word of mouth, all of the shares, anything that you would like to share with your friends, your community is greatly appreciated. I'm just getting started, and this is going to be a wonderful growth path for us together. So everybody have an excellent week. Keep in mind to trust your intuition, look for those opportunities, watch your distractions, do your spiritual practices, and create that vision for your life. That's not much. You can do it. Talk to you soon.